Hey, this is Reginald Perryman. Reggie is realestate.com. So today I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you can't sell properties using your LLC. Now, this is not to say that you can't sell properties, but this is basically 3 reasons why most people can't close. See, a lot of times people will go online, they'll, file their LLC documents, but there's important documents that are missing that most people don't realize, and they usually don't find this out until it's time to close on a property. So when you're purchasing a property, and this is for mostly people that are dealing with title companies, or we see this a lot here in Michigan, each state may be different, and each title company or escrow company may have different requirements. So when you're purchasing a property, if you're buying it in your LLC, some title companies, they don't need to see these additional documents, but some will. The reason being is they're like, hey, if you're buying this property for, 150, 200,000, and you want to put this property in the name of the LLC, that's fine. But when you go to sell that property, there are some important documents that are needed. And usually most title companies, when you're buying a property, they will require 1 or 2 or 3 of these documents. But on the sales side, when you get ready to sell that property, usually all 3 of these documents are needed unless it's a single member LLC. So let's go over document number 1. It's simple, your articles of organization or incorporation. Depending on what state you're in, it's called something different. So this is basically your filing with the state, meaning that you applied for this LLC, the name is registered with the state, and whatever other state requirements are needed. It also lists the members of the LLC. In most cases, it will have like a resident agent, or it will have a list of the members. When the LLC was formed and basically the documents were filed. Also, we'll have the address of either the resident agent or the members, and each state is different. So check with your state, but again, most title companies will need this at closing. The reason being is that the title companies don't know who the members are, who's authorized to do what. So the second document that really ties people up, most people go out and they just go online again and they form an LLC, they file the paperwork. And if it's more than 1 member in that organization, there needs to be an operating agreement. So operating agreements say, here's our members, here's their roles in the LLC. Some operating agreements will even break down a percentage of ownership and what was contributed into the LLC. And basically, it's like a bylaws for that LLC as well. The reason the title company needs this document is because simply, hey, who's signing the closing docs? Who's authorized to sign the closing docs? Are these people even members of the LLC when they show up to the closing table? So just to give you an example, let's just say I go and I randomly say, hey, I am, I don't know, McDonald's LLC, and I go up and I say I'm selling this property, and there's a corporation or LLC that's selling the property. We show up to closing, and I sign the paperwork as Reginald, the seller, member of XYZ LLC, right? Well, there's no document say that I was even part of the company or part of the organization. And even if I am part of the organization, what authorizes me to sell this property for this price on this date? So an operating agreement is very important when you go to sell the property. Now, some title companies will require this when you purchase. But again, most of the risk for the title companies and for title insurance purposes is when you go to sell the property. Now, the other document that's needed, it ties into the operating agreement. Usually there's some type of resolution, or people call this a corporate resolution. This is just basically a document stating, hey, we met, the members of this LLC met on whatever the date is, XYZ 2022, 2023, and we agreed to authorize John or Jane Doe to sign the documents or closing documents or purchase documents for the property located at such on this date. So just to give you an example, let me share my screen here. And we're going to go. So this is a sample resolution. Basically states that, hey, this is the LLC. We met on this date. We authorized the managing member, whatever their name is, property address. They're given permission for, the members are all signing, given permission and authorization for this individual, or 2 or 3 of the members, maybe all the members can attend closing. So you authorize 1 person or 2 people to sign the purchase agreement, closing documents, or you can list anything related to the sale or purchase of that property. This is very important. The reason being is that, hey, let's say that John Doe goes rogue and he starts selling all the company's properties without the company's permission. Well, who authorized John Doe to go out and liquidate all of the company's assets? It also surprises me how many people are selling the property in their LLC. The title is in the LLC's name. The deed is in the LLC's name. The LLC is on a purchase agreement. But when we get to closing, they want the title company to cut the check to them as an individual. Now, even if it's a single member LLC, you individually are not the owner of the property, the LLC is. So the title company has to cut the check to the actual owner, which is the LLC. So that's the reason, another reason paperwork is very important. So here's an example of, now that was the corporate resolution. Here's a sample of a operating agreement. It lists the members, it lists what their roles are, and some additional items here. You'll be surprised how many people I run across. It lists there, and they all have to sign it. It says what their contribution was and things of that nature. But you'll be surprised how many people I come across that own multiple properties. They have partners. There's 6 or more members in the LLC, and they don't have an operating agreement or any type of documents authorizing who's able to sign. Any one of those 6 people can go and just show up at a title company and sign and sell one of the properties if they choose. But most title companies will not allow that to happen. So, but if for some reason one title company does allow that to happen, what's going to happen to the assets and the funds and the proceeds from that sale? So this is why you need to have these documents when you get ready to close. Another thing we noticed too, I notice here, and I see it often, where someone filed an LLC, they probably started this LLC back in, I don't know, 2004. And depending on what state you're in, here in Michigan, you have to file annually. So you have to file annual statements with the state. So what I notice is some people will ignore those annual filings. They have an LLC. Maybe they're not using it, or they haven't purchased any properties in a number of years, and they don't feel the need to pay the $25. That's what the fee is here, to file the annual statements to keep their LLC in good standing. Now, you can go and apply and dissolve your LLC if you're no longer doing business under the company's name. But If you own properties in the LLC, even if you're not selling the properties, or even if you're not even doing anything with the LLC at the moment, if you go to sell a property and your property, your LLC is not in good standing, that's going to delay the closing. The title company will not, well, let me say this, most title companies will not allow you to sell a property in the name of the LLC. If a deed is signed and is dated while the LLC is not in good standing, that can be considered a voided deed pretty much, because it's not a legitimate deed, because the LLC at the time of signing was not in good standing with the state. So it's almost equivalent to an LLC not being in business, but still signing the deed over. So you want to keep your LLC in good standing. Now, does this apply to every state and every title company? No, but majority of the title companies will require that your LLC is in good standing. It's kind of common sense. This company is in good standing in order to conduct business. Conducting business in this case means that they're selling a property or buying a property. Why not have your company in good standing? All it is, a few dollars just to file your annual statements to say that you're still actively doing business. You can see here this company, and this is all public record, so I'm not outing anybody, but this, they were organized in 2018, but currently they're not in good standing. And you can just see, probably because they didn't do something like file their annual reports. You can see annual reports, and the last annual statement was filed in 2020. Here it is 2022. Usually that's the reason. It's not like the person did anything bad or the company was bad or anything like that. Usually when it's not in good standing, it's because they haven't filed their annual statements. Now, the good thing is they can simply go online, pull for the years that they didn't file, pay the fees, upload it, and within a matter of days, they'll be back in good standing. So it's not a bad thing. It's just that if they were selling properties and they were ready to close next week, this would be another delay with them actually being able to sell their property. So again, this is Reginald Perryman, regisrealestate.com, just giving you the ins and outs on selling your properties using your LLC.